Y'all, in today's lesson, I want to go into some of the things of the things you'll experience if you find yourself in the targeting program, or a psychological warfare program, or part of a smear campaign. And I know one thing that you'll experience, and it'll be frustrating, especially when you have so-called friends or people that you confide what you're going through with. They'll tell you, well, you don't let that kind of stuff bother you, right? They'll tell you not to think too much about it, to ignore it. They'll say things that it's not that big of a deal, anything to kind of downplay what you're experiencing. And unfortunately, if you find that happening to you, the sad reality is those folks you're confiding in probably are very, very much aware of what's going on with you, and they're playing their part. Now, whether, the question is why, and there's a couple reasons why they're doing it. They could have been paid off. Maybe somebody smeared you to them, and so they just have a bad idea of you because somebody else told them some lies about you, which, messed with their perception of you. There could be a couple of variables. And guys, there is a virtue as far as not letting things get to you. Part of this psychological warfare program is you having to learn to not react to certain things. Yeah, you having to realize that your reactions are being weaponized against you. For sure. When you're in this program, you don't get to react the same way that your friends say they would, or would. You might have some friends that could get away with stuff. I know I did. I know I had friends that if I did half of the things that they got away with, I'd be in prison. But when you're targeted, when you're chosen, you don't get to live like that. You don't get to play by the same rules as everybody else. Now, what are some things that these people don't understand when they tell you, oh, well, don't think so much about it? Well, when you are a target, what happens is a lot of relationships that would be good or that start out good. You'll meet somebody off the street and it'll be a good relationship. You could tell that they like you, you like them. Maybe you might even be trying to, develop some kind of a business relationship or something. And what'll happen the next time you see them, and you will have no correspondence with them in between, but the next time you'll see them, they won't like you anymore. And all that stuff that you guys talked about, all those opportunities you were curating, those aren't going to be a thing anymore. So that happens a lot. What's another thing that happens a lot? People spit in your food. You get that a good bit. People mess up your orders consistently everywhere you go in town. Your online stuff will get hacked. I couldn't tell you how many times I would buy something online and it would never come through because somebody would cancel the transaction mid-processing. Vandalization. People will vandalize your property. That happened. People will show up sneaking around on your property. I caught some folks snooping around my yard multiple times on my cameras when we were going through our targeting in our old town. Intimidation. I used to work at a guitar store in that town. And one time, a bunch of old fellas, some odd fellas, some old Shriner boys came in and were real obnoxious, arrogant, and kept saying weird stuff around me. Now, none of these guys actually flat out and say, like, you're a problem, you're a target, we want you out of here. We want to put you in jail. But what they do is they say weird things around you that could be perceived as a threat. Okay? Like one of the old guys started playing the guitar. He played it real sloppily. He really wasn't, you could tell he wasn't trying to play. He wasn't even really, wasn't really talented at what he was doing. He was trying to relay a message. And the song was that his attorney didn't show up to court and he had to go to jail. And then he told me, yeah, that's a song I wrote called I'm Gonna Be in Jail Soon. And then left. This is the stuff that you'll have to deal with. They'll do this to you. What is their purpose of doing this? One, to put you in fear. And then two, to provoke a reaction out of you. Them guys probably would have loved for me to hop over the counter and punch him in the face. That way I could have got put in jail. Now, I wouldn't have done anything like that. That would have been at a certain point, you can't really react that kind of way. And that's another reason why they won't actually flat out attack you, because then you'll have the right to defend yourself. And they don't want that.
Look how much bigger it is.
Yeah, it's doing good. Yeah, they don't want you to have the right to defend yourself, but they just want to pick at you. Okay? What's another thing you'll experience? Well, they'll use technology against you. I've heard of people talk about something called V2K, voice to skull. I never experienced that, but I do know that there is things that they can use that'll make you sick, make your stomach hurt. Believe it or not, guys, yeah, there are radio waves, microwave technology, EMF technology that they can use that will hurt your stomach. It will tear up your insides. They can use that. They can also use stuff that'll put little maybe ringing in your ears or something like that. Little things that'll give you a headache, throw you off your game. Spiritual attack. Okay, you'll get a lot of astral projection sent to you in your dreams. You'll wake up at 3 a.m. a lot consistently. Your neighbors. You'll have neighbors that won't be friendly to you anymore. Folks that used to be friendly to you, they won't be friendly. In fact, they'll be the opposite of friendly. They'll be noisy and loud all day and all night long, just to be annoying and irritating to you. Again, with the point of provoking you to react. What's another thing that you'll experience? False police reports. You'll get a lot of folks calling the police on you for no reason. They'll try to show up to your house and have some kind of reason to search your property. Let's say maybe you're burning a fire in the backyard. You'll see the fire department come around consistently. Even though you're well within your right to burn. They'll still just be driving by. Coincidentally, right? Another thing you'll notice is people's dogs will end up just showing up in your yard a lot. Accidentally. Coincidentally. A dog will show up sniffing around. They'll come walking in. Oh, I'm so sorry, my dog. And guys, like I said, if it's one time, right, could be an honest mistake, even 2 times. But when it's consistently over and over and over, and you even catch them snooping around in close proximity to your property, consistently, they're snooping. Now, if you have nothing to hide, right, there's nothing that they're going to find. And that's what they would say too. Well, if you had nothing to hide, you wouldn't be worried about it. And it's like, no, it's still annoying. And then you're also harassing. It's harassment. What they like to do is get as close as they can to the point where it could be a crime on them, and then they back up. And since they have buddies in the police, force and all that, one thing too that you can expect, if you ever have to report a crime, let's say you catch some folks vandalizing your property, you call the police, they're probably not going to take much you say seriously. They're going to act like they don't want to deal with you. Especially if you start describing one of their boys that they know. In fact, they're going to try to flip it to where you're being weird. Yup. I'd even be willing to bet that they probably won't even have any proper documentation or recording of your interaction with them. It'll be one of those things where they'll be like, I never talked to that guy. These are things that you'll have to deal with when you are in a targeting scenario. Not to mention all the other smearing and lies that these people in town will say about you. All of which will be false. It'll be false, or if there's any truth to it, it'll be grossly exaggerated. And they'll say all kind of things to make all kind of people in town think you're an awful person. And they will naturally have a negative disposition towards you. You'll feel like an outcast. Again, all designed to provoke you to hurting somebody or hurting yourself. They'd love for you to hurt yourself and take you out of this world. That's their real hopes. But they'll settle for you to go to prison. Now, why do you find yourself in a situation like this? Guys, you're a victim of a crime. You're a witness to a crime. There's probably some money on your head, too. Some people that were close to you probably put a big life policy on your head. And they probably did it a long time ago. It takes a while for a life policy to get fully funded. And it also takes at least 3 years for a suicide clause to go through. So they've had to do it at least 3 years prior. What you're going through is very much premeditated. It's not just a reaction. It's not just, oh, I don't like that guy anymore. Let's put him on a watch list. No, people were watching you since you were born. Since you were a little child, people were planning on putting you through this program. A lot of times, wicked families in these occult groups will adopt children. They'll adopt children or foster children that they don't really care about. And they'll pick one or two, and they pick the sensitive ones. They pick the sensitive ones because they feel the emotion. They're the most likely to react in the way that they want. They also know that sensitive people are the black sheep, and they won't conform. They know that you will tell the truth against their crimes if you ever wake up to the fact that they wronged you. So they put you through this program so that you'll take yourself out, so they don't have to do any hard work, so they don't have to get their hands dirty, because they're cowards. And if it's successful and you do take yourself out, well, guess what? Whoever's the beneficiary of your big life policy is going to make a bunch of money. And this is how they get other people roped in it too. Let's say you got $1 million policy on your head that you don't know about. Well, they'll be like, hey, I'll give you $200,000 if you help me push this dude to take himself off the face of the earth. You think somebody would do that for $200,000? Somebody who doesn't really know you or doesn't like you? You better bet your bottom dollar they would. But guys, I tell you all this to give you an edge. I tell you all this to give you an advantage so that you know. And you need to know and be confident they won't attack you flat out. They will not bust in your house, kidnap you. The only time they will ever actually hurt you is if you are provoked, right? If they can provoke you into giving them the scenario to where they can do that. They would love to do that. I can't tell you how many times I'll go somewhere and somebody will get in my personal space and they'll get as close as they can and try to provoke me into reacting in a way that they could say, oh, well, I just defended myself. And then that's why me and 3 of my buddies jumped this guy. I used to do karaoke at a place. I quit doing it there because I definitely picked up on the vibe that some people there at that bar were trying to do that with me. Now, I don't know why, because I've only been nice to people there. But then again, when you grow up in these targeted scenarios and these MK Ultra families, it goes back to you don't get to play by the same rules, and life ain't the same as it's not the same show for you as it is for these little followers and minions of people in that group. Now, what's a big surprise, there's a lodge down the street from that bar that I used to do karaoke at, and a lot of those boys would go there after their meetings, because the karaoke night was on the same night that they do meetings, right? And also, these lodge boys look the same, act the same, smell the same. You go in there, I can look at a room and point them out, right? Now, I'm not saying everybody can do that. I'm saying I can do that. You know why I can do that? I have gifts, but then also, when something's been inside of you, when you've been abused and beaten and, molested and sodomized by a group of people for so long, your whole life, yeah, you have a way of picking up on who's who. And guess what, guys? If you're in this targeting program, the same thing probably happened to you. You ever wonder, ladies, why you seem to date police officers a lot? Why you just seem to be attracted or to attract cops? Is it just your type? Probably not. You seem to always attract handlers. Yeah, there's a reason for that, honey. It's because you were put through it. And there's a lot of people in town that know that you're programmed. They know that if they give you enough to drink and say the right things to you, you'll turn into a straight up stripper whore. All they got to do is just get you in the right mindset. And they know that your mama and daddy or your grandma and grandpa or whoever was taking care of you put you through that program and started you out when you were a little girl. This is a hard lesson, but it's one that's real, very real. I read a story one time about a Delta and the weird things he would go through and experience. He said he would go out with a buddy of his, they'd drink, and he'd black out, and then he'd come home, or he'd wake up at home and have all kind of bruises all over him from when he was fighting, going on jobs when he was out. They'll do that. Oh yeah. And then he'll have the memories come back and remember that he had to go out and hurt somebody for somebody else, for money, whatever. That's what they were programmed to do. Guys, I talk about this MK Ultra and I talk about Monarch. And somebody might ask, well, what's the difference? There really is no difference. It's just a different name. MK Ultra got disclosed, in the, 70s? Approximately. But the same project still goes on. They just call it Monarch nowadays. Now, I think they've incorporated more like ritualistic abuse because, if you can get the same results without having to buy drugs, they'll do that. But they still use drugs. What do you think was in that magic juice whenever I had to do rituals? It wasn't magic. And you'll notice, guys, when you'll see stuff online, you'll see all kind of group pages, forums talking about Gang Stalkers Unite. You'll see people on YouTube that are sharing their story, and they'll have thousands upon thousands of views and all kind of support. They'll be on podcasts, and they all say the same thing. But the thing is, guys, a lot of those folks are controlled ops, because I'm going to go ahead and tell you one thing these Freemasons are really good at doing is getting ahead of the story. They'll know that a story is about to come out and bust them wide open, and you know what they'll do to get ahead of it? They'll pretend to be victims of the crime. They'll come out with their own victims, and then they'll tell the story and spin it and steer it in a direction that takes the attention off of the group. Why do you think none of them ever go... None of these guys ever say, yeah, my folks were Freemasons. They put me through this program. They're a pedophile ring. I went through this and experienced that. It happened at Masonic lodges. None of them ever say that. They'll say everything else but that. Think about it, guys. It's because there's really only one answer. Okay? It can't be everything else but. That's not how the truth works. And they don't want it to stop. So they'll rather have you worry about Jeffrey Epstein or people in Hollywood that you'll never meet. And guys, people in Hollywood do go through it. They're gonna get their own form of justice too. They need to wake up on their own. But you need to realize that it ain't just Hollywood. They want you to think about Hollywood because they don't want you to think about the lodge and the boys that are in your town. Because those boys are doing the same thing. It's the exact same pedophile ring. It's the exact same program that they run these kids through. It very much happens in your small little local town, little rural town, and your metropolitan areas. So wake up, y'all. You can beat it. You just have to realize what you're going through and share your story. You'll also notice that if you're like me and you have a story to share, a real story, you're going to have a lot of people that's trying to keep your word from getting out. It goes back to how you'll be able to tell the difference between the folks that are on these podcasts and all that all the time and just people who have a real story but can't even get the word out because everybody's got to silence you. You'll notice so many people will report your page. You won't even call people out by name, but everyone's going to report you for hate speech just because you open your mouth. That's another reason. But yet you know, there's guys all over podcasts and all kind of shows talking about going through the MK Ultra. Oh, my buddy's a retired FBI agent with the CIA, and he's like a 5-star general, and he's going to come in and tell us about this MK Ultra. We're going to get some real truth. Hot off the press, scoop it up, you know, like, come on. They've been doing this same charade, and then nothing will get done. We've got so many people saying the same thing, and no results get done about it. But when somebody actually comes out and is like, yeah, it's happening at this place, they're in every town. Your teachers are involved in it. All the people in your city, most of the people, I don't know if I want to say all, but a lot of people in your city government are involved in it. It's kind of like this. The people who are in your government, they are either very much aware of what's going on and they are part of the problem because they are actively participating in it, or there are people in your government who are puppets who are under the mind control themselves and they are being controlled by the people who actively know what's going on. That's what's going on. That is what is going on right now. So yeah, we need to push and demand for some transparency with this Masonic Lodge. We need to know who is a member of that lodge, and we need to know what members also work in government.
What is that big one?
That's how we're going to change things.
What's that big